The median income of an H-1B worker is in the 90th percentile. These are not just.
Does it account for where they live?
Yes, that accounts.
No. So the media. This is an issue. I think we're mixing up the DEI stuff with the immigration stuff, and that's a problem, right? Remember, I mean, the Asians are the group that's been discriminated against too in DEI.
Agree.
But
only,
it's not in favor.
Only in colleges, not in employment.
In employment.
Well, no, we're talking
too.
about. But you guys are kind of confusing Asians. When you say that Asians, it's like Chinese, Asians, like Korean, right? Like you're not talking about Indians. They're not the Indians actually were being admitted to college. It was more Chinese.
You can read my colleague Renu Mukherjee at the Manhattan Institute. Indians are heavily discriminated against both in college and employment. That's part of the DEI because they're very successful. It's one of the most successful ethnic groups, much more than Chinese.
No,
in the US.
successful per their salary once they graduate, but we're talking about their technical skills when they're being admitted into colleges. That's what we were talking about.
No, what I'm saying is that because of their success, they're discriminated against in the DEI ideology.
Yeah, but not in colleges. In colleges, with those, they were talking about Asian Americans.
I would argue they are.
But that's not what like the Harvard lawsuits and all were.
Yes, they were.
About.
I'm
pretty sure it was China.
It's Chinese
mainly
too.
China.
Yeah, but it also includes Indians. It's all Asian groups except I think the Vietnamese for some reason that they're like given DEI preference. They had a very specific ethnic DEI structure.
Very specific, yeah.
But the point is, I think we're mixing up stories that obviously this is all unverified, but we're mixing up stories.
I mean, people aren't taking time out of their day to go DM people about their
Well,
woes.
I don't know anything about this DM.
I'm
don't
just
even know
saying.
who the person is.
But
the point is,
you can find them anywhere.
Like this could just be a DEI story. Right. And I think that that's a terrible thing. I think I'm very glad that Trump is going to come in and Harmeet Dillon is going to persecute all these colleges and all these employers that discriminate based on race, sex, and everything. And they should. But if anything, legally, Americans have a legal preference to get the job over the foreign workers. And if they find that they have been screwed, they can go and sue, and they can go and report this.
So my question, when you...
It's money to do that.
No, you can report for free to the Department of Labor.
Yeah, you can, but you need somebody to pursue it. Like when you have, I forget what it is. It's a right to sue letter, right? So you have to like go to the Department of Labor, then you have to say that you have a claim, an EEOC, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the EEOC, then you get the right to sue letter, and then you take that right to sue letter, and you have to get an attorney to go sue anybody, and that costs money. And so, and a lot of times those are just blanketly done. You can even ask for a right to sue without a full evaluation after 30 days. Anyway, I know I've been through the process. But my point is that like, you have to have money in order to sue people for what you think is, some.
But this is why we need to get rid of all these Indian shops that are just outsourcing work for the tech companies at low wages, right? Like these are the people who are actually competing unfairly. These are the people who are actually being exploited. These are the people who are really taking also a spot in the visa from somebody who is much more highly paid, right? And so if you did that, you wouldn't have any of these stories because you would just have people making $200K, $150K, $500K coming to work in really highly specialized fields where you really need them, right?
Yeah, but to get back to your question, right? I mean, what are the jobs that Americans are going to do? They're going to do all the jobs in the middle, right? And that's what we're seeing already with the immigration that has happened.
These are the jobs. H-1B is jobs in the middle.
No,
some of it.
Practically.
The median income of an H-1B worker is in the 90th percentile. These are not just.
Does it account for where they live?
Yes, that accounts.
No. So the media, this is an issue. Most of the H-1B visa holders are in urban areas, and that's the median job. So, which is why when
San Francisco, of course, is going to be a lot higher salary than
so
West
this
Virginia.
is why when I think of we should do a wage ranking, it shouldn't just be a pure based on wages. It should be adjusted by age and location. Otherwise, all the visas are going to go to
it's inflated,
New York City.
artificially inflated.
That's right. It's inflated by cost of living.
Right.
So yes, that's.
But the basic point, right, is that you have people who come in to the country. It doesn't matter whether whether they're immigrants or not. When you have people who enter the labor force, they increase for demand for jobs elsewhere in the economy. So an increase in the population or an increase in the labor force does not reduce the number of jobs available or increase employment. That's why we've had 100 million person increase in the labor force over the last century. That has not resulted in mass unemployment and people just eating out of their hands. We've actually seen an increase in our living standards over the last 100 years.
For how long? Because we're automating. They're here to automate stuff, right? They're here to make AI and to make to do computer programming and to make jobs that will replace people.
That is a good thing because it increases the productivity.
I do agree that the automation is going to be a good thing, and we can.
But you're still going to displace those workers, though, right?
Think about it. When we invented the car, we displaced all the horse riders, and we did destroy that whole industry. It was obliterated.
It's kind of like it's kind of like when you have you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour over in Seattle, and now every McDonald's you go into, everything has automated, absolutely everything, and so then you have those 16 to 20-year-olds that would normally be a part of the workforce and contributing. Now they're mooching off mom and dad, still on their parents' health insurance, not getting those jobs at McDonald's, not doing those things. So it is putting people out of work.
No, well, it's different because the minimum wage is a government thing to destroy an industry.
Yeah, I'm just saying in general,
driven.
But I'm just saying that they took it out, right? They did that because they don't want to pay those prices, which is going to happen eventually. If the automation becomes cheap enough, they're going to have all of these automated tellers everywhere you go.
And then who makes the automated tellers, right?
China.
Well, that's a different issue, but
but that is the issue.
No,
our manufacturing is overseas, and so it's going to be who's going to manufacture all these goods, and then we're a service economy. What are we going to be doing as a service?
If that was true, Lisa, then why is the unemployment rate lower? Why is the unemployment rate lower and the employment rate of prime age people higher today than it was 100 years ago when there was less technology and less
say this again?
The unemployment rate is lower today than it was 100 years ago when there were less people and less technology.
But because we've expanded, like we have other things to do, right?
Exactly. So that's exactly what the innovation creates. It makes us
not
all richer.
Always, though.
Well, you could think of a theoretical case where that's not always, but I do think that innovation in general does.
There's also more people.
Like think about, say, self-driving trucks. I think there was a really cool debate between Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson on the self-driving trucks.
Oh, I remember that.
Tucker's against them and Ben Shapiro is for them.
It's a little spooky.
I'm squarely for them because we have trouble finding truck drivers to drive trucks. Imagine if you could get trucks to drive 24/7. It would be so much cheaper to buy everything. So would you buy more things? You will make more books. You will make more apples. You will make more of everything else. And then,
but we're not making them. That's the thing. We are exporting that, right? Like we are, that's being made.
In some things, but not in everything. Because imagine we're importing more things from China, right? China is a bad case because China is an enemy, but from Canada, right? That means
Mexico's one of our biggest trade partners.
Canada will receive more dollars, right? More U.S. dollars because we're paying them in dollars. What are they going to do with those U.S. dollars? They're just going to pocket them? No, they're going to buy things from America. And so that's how international trade...
We're talking about jobs.
Yes.
Though, right? But our Americans aren't going there to get the jobs to go do the manufacturing jobs.
Why don't we look at what actually has happened, right? We've seen a huge increase in Americans going into healthcare, into education, into all these other service sector jobs, which are actually paying better than and growing faster than a lot of the manufacturing jobs that have gone away.
That's even problematic.
So why is it problematic?
Because they're going up in psychology. Everybody's mentally ill. Is that the problem?
We're doing a podcast. Like this is a job that didn't exist 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying, like he's talking about things going up. I was like, psychology's going up, right? Like we have more mentally ill people in the U.S. than ever.
Reason.
And you know what? People need to. I hate to say this, but like the automation.
But like
the automation.
No.
The automation is problematic in another way. Like people used to do things with their hands and feel some type of. I don't know if you guys know this, but back when they were making like the Betty Crocker cake stuff. No, just listen. When they were making the Betty Crocker cake stuff, right? Women didn't want to buy it because they didn't feel like they were really making a cake. So they were like, if you add an egg to this and you actually manually break it yourself, these women will psychologically feel like they're baking cakes. It's like true. That's what they did, right?
That's wild.
It's true. Well, a lot of people are not feeling satisfaction because they're not physically doing labor. Even if you tinker with something, right? There's some satisfaction out of that. These certain service jobs or no jobs or whatever are making people mentally unwell. And then you have.
How do you measure the health of a
all
country?
the jobs?
How do you
Right.
measure the health of a country? Is it gross domestic product, or is it kind of some inexplicable hidden factors?
I mean, GDP correlates with almost every positive outcome you
But
can
it's
possibly
not
think
just
of. But
gross
like,
domestic
No, they're doing happiness
but-
studies
but
now
like
that are
the-
saying that they don't correlate.
but like the
behavioral economics.
but the idea that people on the assembly line had better jobs and felt more satisfied. It's just, I mean, you look at the complaints about capitalism 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, there was like all this soul draining drudgery of the assembly line. And
There were people that loved them that were advocating
now
for their
those-
kids to go work there too because their kids weren't
No, but
allowed to
they're-
work
wait,
there.
wait a
Yes, they
minute.
were in England. Their
Why do
kids
you-
were not allowed to work at factories, and they were furious about it. And they were protests and marches to get their kids working in the factories.
I thought we didn't want child labor. I thought we didn't want child labor.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think children should
Have you heard
work.
of the touch grass
know.
thing? Why is it like a chronically online slogan to say touch grass if we didn't desperately need to
true.
touch grass?
I agree.
As a culture, I mean, the fact that we're glued
I
to
just
our
don't think the
screens-
way to touch grass is to make people work at McDonald's, you know?
Honestly, I think it
maybe
would be
we
a
should
great.
force unemployed teenagers to do that. I think that's a different question.
It's a very formative entry-level role. I was a waitress.
I worked
and
in
let me tell
college.
you, it's
But
great.
But
I mean,
that's service sector. That's not.
Yes.
But like the idea that
manufacturing.
Yes.
those jobs that connect us personally in education, in healthcare, nursing, home healthcare, all of these jobs that have been created, they are connecting us interpersonally. I think that's a great thing. That's better than being a drone on an assembly line. We've obviously innovated our way out of that problem for the most part. That's a great thing for the country. I don't think that whatever's good for our soul is going to be going back to that and taking away the opportunities that have been created to do this interpersonal service.
I mean, I do
sector.
think doing things with their hands is good for our soul.
it's constructive.
But the question is what things, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a manufacturing
nurses,
job.
Nurses
It-
do
saying
things
with
with their
the
hands
types of
too.
things.
Yeah.
It's not.
They're
it's
So
not
you
safer
mentioned
jeans.
interpersonal. If this is bearing such great interpersonal fruits, why is the country experiencing record levels of loneliness? Why are young people reporting so much depression and anxiety? Like, why is there
Majoring
a
in
mental health
psychology.
crisis?
Yeah,
Majoring
I
in
mean, this is-
psychology.
this is
Everybody
the-
has a
Well,
therapist. I'm sorry. I don't think all these people need therapists.
Of course, they don't need
They
therapy. Therapy is a problem
It's a
to a
scam.
solution.
They just need
In
something
many
to
ways,
do.
it's a scam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
need
mean,
to fuel the value.
those. I don't think those issues are a result of increase in prosperity. I think those issues are mainly a result of breakdowns in family
Well, actually,
life.
it
and-
is.
this is
In
where
fact,
Vivek
you know
was
what we
right.
say in the rest of the world? It's first world problems. It's because you are wealthy enough to.
Yeah.
We don't
to
have
be concerned about
adversity.
those
As a
things.
country, we live in immense decadence and prosperity. We do not face adversity. And it's interesting. I went to the MI Gala where Douglas Murray was the keynote speaker.
That was
and
great. That was
just,
his
it was incredible. And it was just this case study about how we went to Israel in the aftermath of October 7th and the war, and how the young people there shocked him. Because just like here, our young people are dismissed as, oh, you good for nothing. You're addicted to your screens, and you don't care about contributing to society. And there it's the same reputation that young people had. And he was amazed at how they sprung into action when Israel was facing existential crisis. When the country was under attack from all sides, the young people wowed everyone with what they were capable of, as well as how much patriotism suddenly was sparked within them. Israel's a different case, but I think America, the culture, and I don't know if it's really what Vivek was saying, but there's something deeply suppressed about our culture. We haven't experienced like this, like fraternal love of like our citizens and for each other because work because of what is in our national identity. I think is unknown actually at this point. And it used to be quite clear. And frankly, I think it was those big crises, international wars, especially World War II, that almost activated this sense of understanding of who we are as a people, and we don't.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.